Why is the Canadian Parliament giving a standing ovation to an actual Nazi? Now, I bet most of you have probably seen the footage from this past week where there was a Mr. Hunka from World War II fought against the Russians in Ukraine. And he was hailed as a Canadian hero and as a Ukrainian hero, and I'm sorry, as a Canadian and a Ukrainian hero. And at the time it was given, the Speaker of the Canadian Parliament, said all these laudatory things about him. He stood up in the gallery and, well, actually, let me not tell you about it. Let me just show you. Here's what happened in the Canadian Parliament this week.
We have here in the chamber today Ukrainian Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at his age of 98.
Now, when that first came out, a lot of people were saying, yeah, this is just another way to rally domestic support in the West for the Ukraine side. And they wanted to allow this guy who fought against the Russians for Ukraine in the Second World War, except they didn't do much of their research and before they put him on there, because as it turns out, Mr. Hunka was not just in Ukraine. He was actually hired, or he was actually a member of the 14th Waffen SS Grenadier Division, which was created by, I'm not making this up, Heinrich Himmler, one of the most horrific persons in the Nazi regime. In some ways, he was even more heinous than Hitler himself. That's the unit formed by Heinrich Himmler that this person, this Mr. Hunka, was a member of. Now, it's even worse than that when you look further, because the Soviet Union, at the time, of course, Ukraine was one of the republics of the Soviet Union. So when the Nazis came in there, they tried to turn people of the various republics against their own people. And that's what this guy was. He was part of the Ukrainian side that turned against the Soviet Union, fought for the enemy against the Soviet Union. And by the way, it's worth pointing out, at the time, the Soviet Union was our legitimate military ally. United States, Canada, both were allied with the Soviet Union against the Nazis. And without the cumulative support of all of this, it's uncertain whether Hitler would have been defeated. So at the time, this guy was a turncoat against our side and was fighting for Heinrich Himmler and the Nazis. Now, of course, today, that no one bothered to do any of that research, which shouldn't have taken very long, but it was. But it was available there if they had done it. So what this shows you is that we don't even care about that kind of stuff. We're looking for anything we can to rally applause and to rally the people just to keep fighting Russia, because we just want to kill Russians. We just want to get rid of it. And so we want to continue flowing the money in, flowing the support. And if we have to elicit a guy that was one of our enemies in World War II that was fighting on the side of the Nazis, we're going to do that because, well, he was fighting for the Nazis then, but he was against Russia. So we're going to call him a hero today for fighting against Russia. I mean, you see, they don't really care about him. They just use him as a prop to continue the support for the war. Now, as Deep Dive tells you all the time, there's very practical reasons why we should not be given this complete support, because all it does is get more Ukrainian people killed. It's not going to reverse the military situation. What we need to be doing is using diplomacy as much and focusing on any way we can stop the killing and have any kind of modicum of a negotiated settlement that leaves Ukraine with as much sovereignty and freedom and ability to continue to conduct business with the West, to continue to be in the EU, to continue to build its armed forces, to make itself strong in the future. All those things are on the table. Putin has shown that he's willing to make a deal in that direction, and as long as Ukraine has neutrality, whatever's left. But we're not even exploring that anymore. We just continue to go down the path that says, no, we're going to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. And unfortunately, we've covered that so many times here, but that's the net result of this kind of thing. And in this case here, it was even bigger disaster than it appeared, because the speaker of the Canadian Parliament had to resign in shame. The Prime Minister of Canada had to go on, in publicly humiliation and explain why this happened. Poland, of all people, the natural ally of Ukraine, or although it's getting strained, they're seeking to extradite the 98-year-old Mr. Hunka for potential war crimes. And it just, I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. But look, this just shows you that we're not focused on the things that matter here. We're focused on the surface and the things that get the emotions up, and not what the results of all these things are going to be. And it's time we start changing some of that so that we can actually help the people of Ukraine to protect their current ability to live and their future ability to survive as a viable state. We keep going down this wrong path here, that's going to be increasingly at risk here. That's one of the downsides and the consequences of actions like this. It was an embarrassment for Canada at the moment, but it's an underlying symptom of a bigger problem that the West has, in that we're following policies that are actually helping to get Ukrainian people killed and putting their future at risk. It's time to stop that. And that's your deep dive for today.